Welcome to the Coachzing Show, offering you the latest creative content marketing tips to help you work less, earn more, and help more people. Are you a coach zinger yet? Join the community where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers come to discover the latest industry trends and partner with other like-minded professionals. Go to coachzing.com/community to join. And now, here's your host, Doug Foresta.
Hello and welcome back to the Coachzing Show. This is your host, Doug Foresta. This is the show where we help you to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. And I just want to remind you as well that if you'd like a transcript of this episode or any episode, go ahead and visit coachzing.com/community and sign up to become a Coach Zinger, and you'll get a transcript of this episode and every episode. And today we're going to be talking, my guest today is Joleene Moody, and she's an absolute expert when it comes to speaking and making money with speaking. So we're going to be talking about speaking and how to create your own speaking engagements, how to make money from that. I know you want to learn this, so stay tuned. I'm going to say a little bit about Joleene and bring her right on. Joleene Moody is a nationally known speaker and client closing expert for entrepreneurs, specializing in speaker training and coaching. She guides these amazing individuals to a place where they can incorporate their purpose-driven message to write. I love she has kick-ass presentations, but the S is with the dollar sign. And find or create speaking gigs that generate cash and high-paying clients. Joleene studies what's working now to help entrepreneurs make more money, build confidence, and grow a lucrative and sustainable business. With her on-fire, no-nonsense comedic approach, she energetically guides her clients through self-esteem, growth, and money issues that may be keeping them from becoming the remarkable leaders they are meant to be. And you can learn more and visit JoleneSpeaks.com. That's JOLEENE Speaks.com. Joleene Moody, thanks for joining me.
Hi, Doug. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, I thought we'd start with, I love this idea, and I'm sure that our listeners are very excited about the idea of creating their own speaking engagements and making money from that. Maybe just to start about what is it about speaking that you find is such a powerful tool for gaining platform?
Yeah, for sure. So I find it to be one of the most influential and powerful ways to get in front of your audience and really make a huge impression. And I know that there's lots of mediums out there for people to hear your voice. Podcasts are one of them, right?
Yes.
Webinars are pretty huge. But my favorite thing to do is to get in front of the room and just deliver power-packed content. I love to teach. So anybody out there listening right now, you can do this. It doesn't matter what you do. Coaches, consultants, trainers, if you're into social media or you are a branding expert or you build websites, you can take what you do, put it in a room and draw people to you and have people as clients before they leave the room. And that's the truth. And really, the whole concept is, you could do this in your own backyard. I personally love traveling, so this works great for me. So basically what I do is I teach my clients how to find or create their own speaking engagements so they can monetize on these events. And you can bring in anywhere between $30,000 and $250,000 just from one event. And it depends on the dynamic. It depends on if you're doing the 3-day live events. Those are the real big money makers. But I can tell you frankly that I'll give you 2 little examples. I had to share an hour with another speaker at a huge event in central New York, and that's where I'm from. And it was for a breakout session. So it was a big conference, and they had the keynote speakers, and they had breakout session speakers, and they asked me to be a breakout session speaker. But the caveat was I had to share the room with somebody, and I thought, wow, this is going to be tough because generally you get 60 minutes. But let's face it, if you're doing a presentation and people are moving in the hallways or someone runs late or someone comes in early, your time is cut. Right. So really I only had about 45 minutes, actually between the two of us, 45 minutes. So if you boil that down, I really only had 23 minutes. So in order for me to make that gig lucrative, I had to really learn what it took to write something powerful in 23 minutes and attach an offer at the end. And I managed to generate $32,000 in 23 minutes in that room. So that's what I like to teach people and share with people.
That's very powerful. extremely powerful. One of the questions that I know I get from listeners sometimes is about, well, I'll ask one at a time. The first question is, how can people create their own speaking opportunities? I guess would be question number one.
Yeah. Yeah. So Doug, it's not that difficult, but you have to be willing to do the work. So I put one together in June. And June is a really tough month. That's what a lot of people say because it's summertime, but I don't subscribe to that. So basically all I did is I made the decision. The first thing I did was look at a calendar on the date or a date on the calendar, chose the date, and then found a room. And if you network, and we all have our network and our tribe is the word that is the buzzword these days, somebody in that tribe or network has a space for you. So talk to them. Make sure it's a very clean, respectable looking place. I mean, I've walked into hotels where I've been invited to speak, and it's just not pretty. You know, the room isn't dressed up nicely. So you can even find a space in a nice restaurant, you know, upstairs above the restaurant, something like that. And the next thing you want to do is you've got to market to your people. And the way I did it for my event in June is you've got to spend money to make money, right? No secret. I had someone build me a Facebook ad, and I targeted my region. So again, I'm in central New York, so I targeted the 4 major cities, Syracuse, Albany, Rochester, Buffalo. And I capped seating at 20. I wanted an intimate retreat. And not only did I market that way, I actually picked up the phone and called people. So I would scour the cities, find the coaches and consultants because that's what my niche is. And I would call them and say, I know you don't know who I am, unless they did know who I was, and I'm just going to cut to the chase. My name is, and I'm hosting a retreat for coaches and consultants that are struggling with their earning and they want to make more. And you know what, Doug? That's what brought people into my room. And I probably spent a total of $2,000, which is actually fairly low because I fed everybody breakfast and lunch. There were 15 people in that room, and I generated $40,000 in sales. So you have to be willing to ask, to go out there and put yourself out there. You just can't put a Facebook event up and expect everybody to roll in. And I even, I billed it at $87. So I charged people $87, and everybody's ticket fee paid for the workbooks I created and the food. And the rest was out of pocket. But see, that doesn't matter. Because again, I generated $40,000 in that room. So I was able to convert people in that room to one-on-one clients and group coaching clients.
Yes, that was well worth. That was $2,000
totally.
well worth spending.
It is. It's worth the legwork. And I know a lot of people, they get frustrated and they think, well, no one's going to want to come to this. Well, sure, if you think that, you're right. But you know what? No matter what you do, you can build a really powerful, exciting talk that gives people information and leaves them wanting more at the end. I mean, at that retreat that I was speaking about, that was an all-day event for me, and that was intentional. During the break, so in the middle of the day, I had people coming up to me that I had never met but invited to this event saying, we need to talk to you. That's how you know you're doing something right, you know? So it's good stuff.
Well, the follow-up to that question is, so that's, you know, that's one question I get from people about, you know, how do I create my own speaking opportunities? So the second question becomes, you talked about the idea of, you know, finding a place to speak where, you know, you're not the one putting it together. And I wonder if you can say a bit about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. That takes, I'm going to be honest with you up front, it's not a good time. I mean, it's kind of one of those tasks that you do in your business that is monotonous, and it requires digging. So if you have an assistant or someone that can help you, that's great. But here is all you need to do to begin. Twitter and Google will be your best friends with this. So let's say that, so I'll just speak to what I do. I go typically to a lot of women's conferences. So I will simply Google women's conference and say I want to visit Rhode Island. Women's conferences, Rhode Island. Women's conferences, California. Women's conferences, Wisconsin. I don't care where I go. There's so many corners of the world in this country to visit. And you'll come up with just a plethora of conferences. Some are annual, some are biannual, and now you just dig a little more. You click on the link, you go to their website. When is it? Are they looking for speakers? And really look around, because you'll always find a link that says speaker proposal or now accepting speakers. If you don't find that link, find an email and email them and say, my name is, I am an expert in, and I'm very interested in learning more about your conference. What is your speaker submission protocol? And you start a dialogue. So you fire the email off. 3 days later, if you don't hear anything, you call them and you have this conversation. Most often, Doug, when you go to these websites, there's a link where you can click and you fill out, the default fields, the little fields that you fill out there to submit an application. But you have to track who you're sending them to,
Yes.
And one thing I want to add to that, one thing that I do that's really powerful is there are some conferences I've been chasing for 2 or 3 years. And I've been on the phone with them and I've emailed them. And then what I do is if I've had 5 or 6 touches with them and still nothing happens, I send what is called a shock and awe package. And that's a box of me. And it's got a theme, so the theme of my box is don't gamble with your next speaker. And I have a DVD that's 3 minutes of just, different speaking engagements edited together. And it's really cool because the top of the DVD is a roulette wheel. And then I put these little buttermint candies in there, and they're wrapped with the suits of the cards, so hearts, spades, all that. I even had 4 playing cards riveted together. So there's 4 cards together, and on the back are different pictures of me speaking. My book is in there, and a brochure basically saying how I can give you exactly what you need. And people dig that. I had one woman call me from California. I was vacationing with my family in New York City, which I don't recommend you do. Go someplace sunny and warm. And she called me and she was just so impressed. And she said she's seen shock and awe packages come across, but not one like that. So don't underestimate the power of spending a few bucks to put something like that together.
I love that. What a creative idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think as well? I mean, you obviously, this is what you do for a living and this is what you help people do. What do you see as some of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they try to get out there and start speaking?
They don't talk to people. They don't pick up the phone. They're not persistent and they don't ask. And honestly, that's it. You have to be hungry. That's what Les Brown always says, Mr. Motivator. And you have to be willing to continue to knock on the door. And I think the trepidation is people think, well, I don't want to seem like a pain in the butt. And I don't want to be bothering them. All I have to say to that is, you need to break up the space from when you reach out to them. But think of all the stories of successful people that have never given up.
Yeah.
And they keep showing up, and I brought up Les Brown, and I don't know if your audience might be familiar with him. Was a motivator I started listening to when I was in 5th grade. And, this is what this guy did. He wanted to work at a radio station and he was mopping floors, but he watched them as they were on the air. He watched the DJs and learned what to do by watching. And his break came when a DJ ended up drunk and couldn't go on the air, and he slid in that seat and he blew the owner of the station away. So you have to, the question is, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want to get yourself out there and find clients that are willing to not just pay you what you're worth, but really appreciate the information that you give them? And I honestly believe, and I mentioned, webinars. I love doing these podcasts. I love sharing this kind of information, but really putting yourself in front of people as the expert where what they're experiencing is palpable is, to me, in my humble opinion, the most lucrative way to get your voice out there and generate.
Yeah, I love what you said about, how bad do you want this, right? It's so true. I hear so many people, well, I tried that. It's like, well, what exactly did you try? Did you try it
and
once?
For how long, right? Yeah. And that's key too, is because, when I'm working with clients, one of the first things we work on is let's put a gig up. Let's get, and I'll show you exactly what you need to do, but you have to be willing to do what I teach you to get the results. It goes to the old adage, if you want what I have, you have to do what I do. And people tend to stop with, well, I'm still looking for the venue. Just book it. Don't get too particular. I got caught up in that in the beginning. It had to be just this way or just right. And I've really learned, and if you know anything about me, I've really learned to relax, where you just kind of roll with it and take it as it comes. And it really is how you look at things. And don't get me wrong, I have down days too. I have struggle days and days where I'm scared out of my mind. but I know that this too shall pass, and that something else will come up or an opportunity will come up, and then I remember the gift that I bring to people and the way that I've helped them expand their business. And I'm saying this so that your listeners can think the same thing when they're struggling.
Right.
You know, when they're in that place, they're like, you know what? I tried to get people in the room. Well, what did you do? Well, I put a Facebook event up and only 2 people said they were coming and then they didn't show. That's not enough. You know, you have to be willing to go out there. I mean, when I was talking about the event I did in June, Doug, I wouldn't have had 15 people in that room, and I told you I capped it at 20. But
Right.
I wouldn't have had that 15 in if I didn't pick up the phone and invite people. And I was taking their registrations on the phone. You know, they'll say, oh, well, why don't you send me the link? And I'll say, I'll send you the link and I'll tell you more about it while we're on the phone. And what I'm telling them about gets them excited. And some of them are looking at the link because I built it in lead pages and it was connected to my Facebook ad. While they're looking it over, they're like, yeah, you know what? I like this. And they register when they're on the phone or I register for them. So I only would have had probably 8 people in the room if I just relied on a Facebook ad. So I got the other people in by calling them. So be willing to pick up the phone. When everything else goes away, when the internet goes away, when podcasts go away and webinars and everything, you still have face-to-face communication for the telephone. And it's still, in my opinion, the most powerful way to connect with people and get them in your room.
I want to ask you the question about, I mean, one of the things, and I know that you have I know you do training on this, but I'm wondering if you could say a bit about, you know, so getting them in the room is certainly, that's a huge piece of it. But then obviously there's a piece about, you know, how to, as you say, authentically close the sale. And I'm wondering if you can just say a little bit about how to make that transition, or any tips that you have for listeners about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if anyone's taking notes, take notes, or if you're driving, listen to the podcast later. This really, really works, and it's very effective because it's authentic. So what I do is, say you've got your hour in the room, write your presentation to be 45 or 50 minutes, because you want to include different stories and things like that and be really natural with your talk. What I do and what I encourage people to do is when you get up on stage and you introduce yourself, the first thing I will say is, look, I've only got 50 minutes to give you the best of me, but I promise you that before we're done, I'm going to show you how to get more. And then I go into my presentation. So now the subconscious mind is primed with information that more is going to come. And they hear it, they download that information, the attendees, and then I start teaching and they become enthralled with that. So then I leave about 5 minutes open at the end. And sometimes if your listeners are thinking, well, what if you can't sell from the stage? Because lots of times you can't. But you can offer something for free. So you want to offer a free consultation. So let's use that as an example. And this I had to do in my room where I told you I had to split the time and I had 23 minutes.
Yes.
So I delivered that information, and then, 5 minutes, I had some signing me to the time, how many minutes I had left. I said, look, I'm running out of time. I wish I had more time here, but I don't. But I told you, and I promised you that I would show you how to get more. So if you're open to it, I'd like to share with you my study course, which is where I'm getting this information that I'm sharing with you now. So I'll show you how you can get the course while I'm still giving you nuggets of information. Are you folks open to that? Oh, absolutely. So it doesn't drive right into a pitch. So what I've been teaching them all along is stuff that's in a product that I want to sell, or, my consultation, if that were the example. I apologize. I said I was going to use. And you put that offer out there. And the way you do that is say, the first thing you do, you don't go directly into the pitch. Continue to teach. And the way that I do that is I ask a question. So I'll say something like, after they go, yeah, great, I'll say, great. So I have a question for you. What does it really mean when people say they can't afford it? And people are on the edge of their chairs because they want to know, because their clients, when they're trying to close a sale, they're like, oh, I don't have the money.
Yes.
So I've got the answer. They're on the edge of the seat. So I teach them what the response is. And then I switch. So I move from education to sale. And then I say, when we go through our consultation, I'm going to show you how to handle those kinds of rebuttals. And then I'll teach again. And then I'll move back to, and when you connect with me, we're going to go through where you are now, where you want to be, and what it looks like for you to get out of the rut you're in. So you go from education to pitch, education to pitch. And it doesn't feel like that to them because you're giving and then saying, hey, when you call me, you're going to learn more. And then you're giving, hey, when we connect, you're going to learn more. And it's the same thing with the product. And I started to use the example of the study course. So I'll give them a nugget, and then I'll point to like the PowerPoint behind me, and I've got an image up of my study course. And then I'll say, and you're going to learn this in Module 3. It's the most powerful module in this package. You're going to learn how to close a sale and feel comfortable with it. And then I turn back to them, and I teach again. So that's a great way to ease your audience into a sale, because they don't come there to be sold. You know what? 90% of them know that something's going to come. But imagine how much at ease they are. And I've had people approach me afterwards, and they'll give me a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and say, nice marketing.
Yeah.
They know, and they still buy. So it's really powerful.
I love that. And just, switching from education to pitch, and it's not this hard sell, okay, now it's time for everybody to buy the timeshare.
And the fun way to do that, Doug, is be prepared to ask a question so you can get them involved. Like I just did. What does it mean when people say, what do they really mean when they say, yeah? So, and then let them answer and point to the people in the room. And now they're getting involved. You know what I mean? So the sale is getting less and less. And look, one thing I didn't say is you're not selling anyway. And I really believe this. And it took me a few years to work through this, but I have a great coach. You're genuinely serving these people. They're showing up because they need something.
Right.
And I have what they need. And same with the listeners out there. They're showing up in your room because they need something. Something attracted them to you. So give them more and understand that if they want your service, it's okay to sell it at what you're worth.
Joleene Moody, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing really great tips about the power of speaking and using speaking to build your business. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed this very much.
Thank you. And I just want to remind people again, the best way if people want to learn more and go further with you to visit JoleneSpeaks.com.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I zoned out. Yes, JoleneSpeaks.com.
No problem. Joleene Moody, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for joining me. And we will be back Monday through Friday with more great guests helping you to work less, earn more, and help more people through creative content marketing. Till next time, this is Doug Foresta at The Coachzing Show.
Thanks for listening to The Coachzing Show. Need help getting your book out of your head and onto paper? Need help marketing your books or speaking engagements? We can do it for you. Go to Coachzing.com to learn more. Are you a coach singer yet? Join the Coach Singers community where the world's best coaches, therapists, authors, and speakers meet. You'll get exclusive access to private mastermind calls where you can get instant marketing help from industry experts. Plus, we'll help you forge deals and partnerships with other like-minded professionals. Go to Coachzing.com/community to join now.